Our next presenter is Trevor Matthews, who is a director of Resource Mining Corporation. Trevor has in excess of 35 years' experience in the resources industry, where he specialised in managing nascent greenfield mining and mineral processing projects right through into production. His career experience includes executive roles at large diversified mining groups, and most recently he served as the managing director and CEO of ASX-listed Vault Resources, which has interests in Tanzania. Trevor has held numerous senior executive roles, including as MD of MZI Resources and Murchison Metals. Trevor currently wears multiple hats, including as non-executive director of Resource Mining Corporation, executive director of Lindian Resources, and chairman of Victory Metals Limited. So thank you, Trevor.
Thanks, Anna, and it was great to make it up the catwalk without falling off the stage. I'd just like to acknowledge our distinguished visitors, including the Tanzania Mining Commissioner. And I guess you're hearing from a range of different companies, you know, from near operations and construction phase all the way back through to exploration, and that's where Resource Mining Corporation sits, is in that exploration, early exploration phase. But that's pretty exciting. It's usually pretty interesting for investors. It probably provides you with the biggest kick if you're successful in terms of investment in these projects. And along those lines too, you know, that ability to raise capital and then further develop your projects through those, you know, exploration studies and into construction operations phases is a really exciting prospect. So, you know, we're keen to be part of the development story for Tanzania, and I'll explain further as we go through the presentation about where our focus is. Very much, you know, battery metals exploration. So, usual disclaimer, this presentation's on our website and being lodged on the ASX, so if anybody wants to see the full presentation, they can have a look at that and read further. In terms of RMC, I'll just refer to RMC by the acronym. It's a bit of a long name to keep repeating. So, you know, we're pretty well funded at the moment. We've just finished a placement and are in the midst of a rights issue or an entitlement offer to shareholders. So what that's doing is making sure we've got the cash to follow through on our exploration strategy that we're implementing in Tanzania at the moment. As been, I think Paul mentioned, our executive chairman is Asimwe Kabunga. Asimwe's Tanzanian born, now resident in Perth, and pretty active in the in the resources sector, and has obviously a pretty strong affinity with Tanzania. He's got a number of companies that are operating in Tanzania with different types of mineral projects, and he's a very strong supporter of RMC and those other companies. You'll see we've got a mix of people on the board that range from technical to commercial, finance, you know, experience in taking projects all the way through to production. And, you know, I think it's a good, competent, you know, fairly lean board as well. Focused on three minerals, nickel, lithium and cobalt. Probably fair to say nickel and lithium are the probably more dominant minerals of interest in terms of the portfolio of assets that we have. When you have a look at, you know, you're hearing about the critical minerals, new energy, electric mobility, and what the opportunities are there. And you can see on this particular graphic that, you know, there's a number of metals that have a key role to play in terms of the development of not just electric mobility, but also energy storage and some other aspects of you know, new energy. So you can see that nickel and lithium play a pretty key role in that, nickel being in the cathode, lithium being the electrolyte, cobalt's part of the cathode as well in a lithium-ion battery. So, pretty key elements in the context of the critical mineral space. Tanzanian projects, the company does have some projects in Finland, which I'll touch on in a little bit later in the presentation, but the focus for this presentation is very much around Tanzania. As has been mentioned before, certainly the climate in Tanzania for investment, exploration and project development is really looking very strong and improved a lot over recent years. We've seen BHP come back into Tanzania and back into nickel investment as well. If you go back about probably 15 years ago, BHP had its whole nickel business up for sale, and that wasn't successful, and now they're sort of reversed that thinking and becoming quite a significant player in the nickel outlook in terms of supply and demand. I've mentioned Asimwe's role. Our projects are located in the East African Nickel Belt, which is pretty much running along the west of Tanzania from north to south. And we've got projects basically along that, spread out along that whole western side of Tanzania. The geological setting we're in is pretty good. We've got a number of project areas. Some of them have been held by BHP and Elbidon in the past in the southern area. There's quite a bit of work done, not to the point of drilling, but certainly a lot of target generation. And we've been able to get the benefit of that information, done some further work, and I'll follow up and mention about our exploration program at Liparamba in a minute. But Liparamba, Kitay and Mbinga are all very prospective projects, similar geological setting to Kabanga Nickel, which you've heard about already, which is a globally significant nickel project. We have a project called Kabanga North, which is just adjacent to the Kabanga project, and there's a fair bit of exploration activity around that. We're watching the results of some of the other activities, and then we'll start to plan what further exploration we'll undertake at the Kabanga North project. Kapala Gulu project is, a fantastic project, very large, and has, some interesting historical drilling results at 1.57% nickel. And just so many targets, actually, it's a bit of a difficult process for our geologists to sort of define exactly where they want to start drilling. And so I guess some of the things we might look at is, whether we should work with maybe a partner in this particular project to help, fund the activities that we feel should be undertaken at that project. In terms of Liparamba, we've again, building on the work done some years ago by BHP and Elbidon, and some further work. We did some further geophysical surveys, revisited all the data, visited the site and did the usual sort of walking the ground and mapping, and we found some really good opportunities to commence drilling campaigns. So what we've done is commence with an RC program. That RC hole did intersect disseminated sulfides, but unfortunately the drill rods and string got broken off and jammed down the hole. So we basically abandoned that. But based on the information we had from the chip samples that we were getting, we decided to basically change the program and go straight to a diamond program. So we're doing a couple of 1,000 metres of diamond. That's just started. As I said, we're finding disseminated sulfides. We haven't got any assay results as yet. We're not much beyond the first hole or two at this stage of probably about a 10-hole program. And, we're pretty excited about the prospectivity of this area and what the opportunity is to, find some nickel in this particular program. And what we're chasing here is sulfide nickel, and we're sort of looking forward to getting the results. As I mentioned earlier on, we're well funded to get through this program and well into next year with follow-up programs and some work on some of the other deposits as well. I'll just briefly mention our Finland projects. I think it's a good example of the differences in certain jurisdictions. Finland is, has a long history of mining. It's the biggest nickel producer in Europe, but the timeframes to get things like exploration licences from doing non-ground disturbing activities under reservations to exploration licence to be able to commence drilling can be quite long. So whereas in Tanzania we've been able to get on the ground very quickly and commence our exploration and drilling programs, in Finland we have to take a bit more of a measured approach to it and be a little bit patient about how long it takes to get through the process to get to exploration. Having said that, Finland obviously offers, European exposure, and we have a number of projects, 2 lithium projects, which is, the lithium aspect of RMC's overall portfolio of assets in Kola and Hervakallio. Some good historical results there with, lithium intersections from historical drilling by Finland's Geological Survey. We have some excellent results to build on. We've done some recent surface sampling, and we've had some really excellent results from that as well, up around 4% lithium being assayed from those samples. And as I mentioned, some historical drilling results too that indicate there's certainly potential for good size lithium deposits. A lot of work on infrastructure and even downstream refining investment going on. And we also have a pretty interesting nickel project there, Rusikera, which is right up in the north of Finland, which has an existing resource of about 40 million tonnes, relatively low grade, but quite a lot of exploration potential. So in terms of RMC, we certainly see great opportunities to advance our exploration programs in Tanzania. Like I said, we can get on the ground and start exploration pretty quickly. We're well funded. Started at Liparamba, but we will be working through some of the other projects over the course of the next 12 months or so. And we got some near-term news from that exploration program, the diamond drilling program at Liparamba. We also will be doing a bit of work at Kola, the lithium project in Finland. We expect to get access for a drilling campaign late this year, so we'll see some news flow on that. The important thing about news flow for junior companies is the ability to keep funding yourself and raising money and undertake these activities that, in the end could see you develop, a project and which has obviously got other benefits for the countries that you're operating in. So, we have a number of really strong projects to work with in different jurisdictions, which sort of spreads our risk a bit, but also gives us the opportunity to be able to develop a pretty strong portfolio of really interesting projects and projects that are very much focused around the critical minerals space. So that's about the extent of the presentation, some contact information there, and I'd like to thank you for your attention.